Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is Stuart Davis, a flawed man of God here, broadcasting after the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. Um, my name is Stuart Davis. I run this channel, Flawed Man of God. I'm a deacon at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not a pastor, I'm not a biblical scholar, and I haven't been to seminary. I'm not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. What I'm here to do tonight, as I do every night, is talk about God, talk about Jesus, talk about the Holy Spirit, talk about Christianity, talk about the Bible, talk about issues from the perspective of a Christian and how they affect us um, both within the church and outside of the church. I'm a I've been a Christian all my life, 39 years, non-denominational Protestant. I don't subscribe to any particular doctrine or denomination. I'm just in the Word daily, trying to do it better than I did the previous day. Sometimes I do it better, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I stay the same. But if you are somebody who is looking for more meaning in to life, if you're looking for something beyond just your existence here on Earth, if you hear the whispering or not so subtle signs of Jesus reaching out to you to get you to begin a relationship with Him, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. You are the reason I started this channel, and I hope that I can provide some sort of insight, influence, or perspective for you in that in the beginning of that journey. I'm very layman. I'm very much a layman. So my my perspectives are very amateurish, but they are steeped in a lot of experience that I've had, and a lot of just staying in biblical text, as it were, as I understand it. So um, you're getting a general feel of who you might meet if you walked into a church, and hopefully this is serves as some sort of springboard into a relationship with Christ and becoming a Christian. And I very much encourage you to ask any questions or share any perspectives that you may have. If you are already a Christian and you just enjoy Christian topics and discussions, welcome. We usually have a small group of folks uh, in the chat just discussing things here on the YouTube chat and sometimes in the Facebook chat. But it's run very similar to a Wednesday night small group or a Sunday school, where that's just the size of this channel, that's the size of the viewers and active participants. Whether you are not a Christian and you're just searching, or if you are a Christian, I highly encourage you to take part in the chat. I don't mind if you're going to be a wallflower about it. If you're just listening, maybe you've got it on in the background, or you catch this on the replay. But if you're catching it live and something strikes you, to make a comment and be part of that. And also, if you like what you're seeing here tonight and any other night, please like and subscribe to this channel. It's very good for me and the mission that I'm having. This is not a monetized channel. This is not a grift. This is just exposure, which is really the whole point of what I'm doing. Just getting the word out there for people to see that. So like and subscribe, share this with anybody who you think might enjoy this or might need to hear it, and that will be great. So with that, all that stuff said, back from Thanksgiving break, hopefully everybody had a great time. We didn't stream but 2 days last week because of that, and this might be another short week. It depends on what the schedule is. So um, I will not be streaming on Friday. My plan is to take my son to go see Bit Brigade. If any of you guys are familiar with them, they play they play Mega Man music to rock. Like they actually play the instruments for rock and roll, or instruments to the Mega Man uh, game songs, but they play it with actual instruments, and it's very cool. They actually have a guy playing the Mega Man levels as they're doing as they're doing the songs. He doesn't know this, though. This is going to be kind of a surprise, early Christmas present, if you will, to him. I mean, tickets are dirt cheap. I can't pass it up. He loves their music. He loves Mega Man, loves their music, and and it's great. And I like the music too. So it's a nice cheap outing with the kid, and so I will not be streaming then. Thursday, I might have a prior commitment. Don't know, seeing if that's firming up, and we'll go from there. But man, like I said, must be a Thanksgiving weekend hangover because the chat is empty tonight. I don't even have Nico here with me. So I'll stall for just a few more minutes before we get into our biblical readings, just to give people a chance to filter in. Hopefully everybody had a good Thanksgiving. Mine was great. Like I said, lots of things to be thankful for. It's been an up and down year with a lot of blessings and a lot of challenges for me and my family. But we're happy and in good spirits, and that's great. And we have each other. So we had most of the family over, pretty much all the family over for Thanksgiving that we normally have, and that was great. Got to spend a lot of time with my brother. Got to spend time, the cousins. Got to spend some time with my kids, and that's always a good thing. So it just, family is an important thing, and I think that's something that is evident in the Bible from the very beginning. Not that it's more important than God, but it is a building block on a lot of things that God. It's a building block to set us up for to be successful in a lot of God's commands. That's not to say that if you come from a broken family, or if you don't have a family at all, that you are doomed to failure. That's not to say that. People overcome those obstacles all the time, but a lot of people start off at a disadvantage because they don't have that family structure support system there. And there are other families that actively try to keep people away from Christianity. People who believe in other faiths, people who are atheist, people who think that Christianity is full of evil people. And that's another part of this show that I'm trying to point out, that people who are Christians are not really folks who are, we're not a cult. We're not, when we're doing it the proper way, we're not cliquey. We are not, we don't condescend. We shouldn't be condescending. We shouldn't be judgmental. It's not a social club. It's not a place for, for you to check boxes off of your social standing. It's a family. It's a family, and it's a fellowship coming together and supporting each other and helping all of us grow. And that includes sometimes holding each other accountable, and other times, and all the time, being there for each other. And if you ever get a chance to be a part of a church that's healthy and has that culture built in, you will understand exactly what I'm talking about. And look, I've been part of a church of a toxic church culture. I've been in there. I felt really rotten about it, and not about. I mean, I acted in my own ways, but I felt really rotten about church in general because of my experience there, and it kept me away from church for many years. And it took somebody, or it took a few people being what I thought it always should be, acting in that way that it always should be, to bring me back and let me give it another chance. And I say that, and it's not really a great way to put it, because I shouldn't be looking at that from the perspective of I gave church another chance. It's more that I took those first steps to getting back in the church. And when I did that, the reason that I did it was because I wanted my son to grow up in a Christian environment, and I knew that I couldn't do it on my own. My wife at the time, she was not a Christian and wasn't really interested in becoming one. But my faith was still very strong. And it was very important to me that any kids that I have be saved. Very important. And so that's when I started going back to my current church. Or it didn't go back to it. I started attending my current church. And it's been quite a great ride. It's been my wife has come to Christ, has become very devout, and it's been a beautiful thing to watch. My kids love going there, and I get to be an active participant in a lot of the goings on because it's small. It's small. We all know each other. The congregation is mostly very humble in their approach at recognizing that we're sinners, looking for each other, asking how we're doing when bad things have happened to me. And we have faced some challenges, which we have since we've been there, which you will as you go through life. They've been there for me. I've been there for me in ways that I never would have expected them to. And coming together and taking me aside and spending time and really, again, living the Christian life the way that I think is ideal or close to ideal as I can reasonably expect. Which I feel like I don't deserve. But that's not to say that whether I deserve it or not, it's still God's expectations of us to learn to be there for each other. Right? Going all the way back to the Old Testament, as we've been going through the Old Testament and in the establishment of Israel, that's God's expectation when from the get-go, look out for your people when he's writing the law or he's passing the law on to Moses, and they're putting together this framework of what God's real true expectations are for them. It's a lot. It's very family oriented, and I don't think that really changes. That tone never changes. So, hey, Dresden. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I had one other viewer coming in. I think I had a guy on Facebook. I was talking to him right before the show started. I don't know if he's still tuning in, but I saw that I had a few viewers in, just nobody in the chat. But I was talking on Facebook to a guy. We have quite the past, me and him. But good guy. Used to go to church with him, and he was just talking about how he just finished reading the Bible, kind of like what I'm doing, reading it, from beginning to end, reading the whole Bible, and how much of a positive impact that is. Like reading the Bible would ever be a negative impact, right? But like how great it is. And how I told him, I was like, look, if there's one thing I can't stress enough to Christians is to read all of the Bible and read it with some semblance of order. My personal suggestion is from the beginning to the end, so you get all the context, but at least all the books from the beginning of one book to the end. Maybe not for Psalms and Proverbs because they're kind of parsed out, right? It's a lot of different sayings, but for the most part, kind of like what we are. It's once you do it, you understand, and you see, especially if you're paying attention. And I'm paying more attention now that I'm doing it piece by piece than I did. I did it on the last time I did it was on audio, going back and forth on my commute to work, and you're listening to it, but you're also decompressing on the way back, and you're letting go of a lot of things, so you might miss something. I find that I miss a lot of things the first time I read something, and the more you go back, the more you pick up on other things, and because of you guys, but you find that this going through it a little bit more slowly, I'm even picking up more stuff that I've missed in the past, or being reminded of things that as I've gone through the Bible, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So Nico's there. There you go, Nico. Just finished up on Twitch. Good job. Hopefully Twitch is doing well for you, Nico. Glad to have you on here. Hopefully your Thanksgiving was very good. Dresden, I think it's because Kanye West is on Tim Pool's podcast. That is that is quite the interesting story arc right now, which is with Kanye. And you know, we have people that come on the show. They're friends of the show, like Christian Mario, who comes on occasionally, who is a big supporter of Kanye West and things. But I don't trust any celebrity. I'm always hopeful, but look, Hollywood is a tough place to be and keep your soul intact. Same thing with the music industry. Any type of celebrity status these days, social media, all these things. There was some big to do on within the Christian Twitter this weekend concerning somebody's old Twitter account and people finding it, and there was a lot of questionable takes in there, and man ended up getting fired. And who was it? Really his account? Was it not his account? Why did you try to get him fired? Why didn't you talk it to him personally? It became a lot of drama, and I feel like I'm improving because I kept my mouth shut, because I had some opinions about it. I didn't know anybody involved, but I had some opinions on how people were going about it, but I stayed quiet. And when it comes to things that are drama and don't involve me directly, and maybe things that end up involving me directly, just don't talk. There's a great guy. I still got to get him on this show, but no Jesuit tricks, canon theologian of the Bible. He's a phenomenal writer, just wholesome, easy to read content. I encourage everybody to follow him on Twitter if you're on there, and subscribe to his WordPress. I think he's got his own site, and he's of the Anglican faith. I think he's Reformed, and so yeah. I need to get him on the show. He said he'll come on and really just kind of talk about the Anglican faith. Obviously, there's a lot going on with them because the Episcopalians being an offshoot of them, a lot of Anglican churches compromising their values. He is not one of those. He is very fundamental in his approach, and kind of getting that interview out of him and having you guys get a chance to meet him on here and give him some exposure for whatever it's worth, because I think that he provides a very good approach to things, very similar to the way that Hans Feeney approaches Lutheranism, or represents Lutheranism, or Thaddeus Patrick represents the Orthodox. So again, this is what I'm here for. Give you some a peek into some of these other denominations, and understand that, especially if you're already a Christian, and maybe you're Reformed, maybe you're an Anglican, maybe you're Catholic, maybe you're this, that, or the other, and you're always looking at the other denominations with skepticism and distrust, and quick to point out the flaws. When we really look around, we can see that the problems within the different denominations all have a common theme. And it's not necessarily, if I'm non-denominational and my friend Raph is Catholic, that we should be trading barbs at each other over, prayers to saints, or or the Pope, or whatever, but to make sure that faith stays intact and that we understand what the goal is, and we support each other, even across denominational lines, to make sure that the fundamental principles of Christianity stand firm in our friends, and maybe even bring some of our enemies So there we go. Nico says, I'm good. How was your Thanksgiving week? Yeah, I was talking about it earlier, but you were late, so you didn't hear. Thanksgiving was good. It was a nice break. I miss talking to you guys, but it's good being around the family. It's good being around the family. That's all. I didn't think about the stream all that much, but I'm excited to be back. Just excited to be back about it. Love that the usual crew is coming in. And speaking of the usual crew, Alias, alive, survived deer camp. Did you get any deer though? That's the question, Alias. Did you get any deer? Dresden, I think he has, talking about Kanye, I think he has good intentions, but you know what they say about the road to hell is paved in good intentions. I don't see, you can intend what you want, but when I see Nick Fuentes in the formula, I don't think good things can come out of that. I see Fuentes mostly as a person who you can compare to a leftist, in that the fact that they are using Christianity as a means to justify their political goals, as opposed to just trying to be a Christian. The truth of God is not there to be manipulated or thrown at people in order to push a political agenda. Now, our politics should reflect our biblical principles. And when I say our biblical principles, I mean the biblical principles. So what we need to do is keep that first and foremost, because while it, because I think doing that and being that, whether it works out for us or not, we have to make sure that we are true to Christian principles if we have any hope of trying to change the culture to reflect what God wants from us. So that's the thing. If we can't be true to our own principles and to the truth that God is as best as possible, how can we expect people to follow our example? Or how can we expect people to follow that example when we're not even trying, right? Because an election is more important than the faith. It's never more important than the faith. Dressing your profile pic is nuts. Yeah, it's something. It's definitely something. All right, so Nernaeth isn't here. I know. I think that he was at least alluding to the fact that it's going to get really complicated here in 2 Samuel, because a lot of people are going to be just immediately thrown into the equation, into the narrative that we don't really understand, and then they're going to be doing that. They have their own agendas. They have their own personalities on thing, and they're gonna pop in, and they might stick around, or they might immediately die. So, and there's definitely gonna be some death tonight, because like I said in the thing, there's nothing new under the sun. Death is a reality. Death due to political intrigue. It's as George Martin rudely and lewdly wrote in his Game of Thrones stuff. None of that stuff is new. So, all right. So because it's been a few days, let's do a quick recap. All right. So, Saul has died. Jonathan has died. There's a power vacuum inside of Israel right now. Now, one of the sons of Saul is assuming the throne of Israel. However, complication, David is anointed king over Judah, which is not going to be part of Israel anymore. And Israel isn't going to like that. They don't want to break up, but here we have it, division. I mean, it was always going to be because we're going to keep, and I don't know how long we're going to be doing it. Probably the majority of the Old Testament keep pointing back to what God said in First Samuel about, I gave you what you needed to do to exist, and you decided you didn't want it. You wanted a king. You have a king in me, but you want a man king because it's cool, because all of your neighbors and all your friends have man kings, and you want one too. And I get kind of the understanding, because they were worried because they'd had some corrupt priests, but priests don't have the horsepower um from a political sense that a king does, right? Priest is just supposed to be an intermediary between God and the people, and some other stuff in there. The king's sole purpose is to rule. So what happens when the king desires something that God does not? And that's what we saw throughout First Samuel with Saul and his rise and his fall and eventual death. But we have David here, and David's got some. They're having some sort of meet each other, some sort of peace talks or some sort of camaraderie between each other. A fight breaks out. People were chasing each other. A guy named Abner was being chased um, by a guy named Asahel. Abner turns around. He tells him to stop following me. Asahel keeps chasing him, and so Abner stabs him dead, runs him through with the spear. Because, hey, look, now, Asahel has some brothers, Joab and Abishai, and they basically, they're not happy with what happened, right? So let's find out where things go from here. Samuel, 2 Samuel, chapter 3, as a continuation of chapter 2. The war between the house of Saul and the house of David lasted a long time. David grew stronger and stronger, while the house of Saul grew weaker and weaker. No surprise there. David's popular. Saul had some misgivings, but hey, guess what? David's righteous. David has God on his side. What do you think is going to happen? The sons were born to David in Hebron. His firstborn was Amnon, the son of Ahinoam of Jezreel. His second, Chileab, the son of Abigail, the widow of Nabal of Carmel, because that's how we always identify Abigail the widow, even though she's married now or remarried. Abigail, the widow of Nabal of Carmel. Third, Absalom, the son of Maacah, daughter of Talmai, king of Geshur. Absalom's one that you need to keep your eye on. The fourth, Adonijah, the son of Haggith. Okay, I don't know who Haggith is. The fifth, Shephatiah, the son of Abital. Don't know her either. And the sixth, Ithream, son of David's wife, Eglah. All right, he's gotten married another time. So we've got some we've got some wives and concubines, I guess. Not uncommon. But as we're going to see with David and others, and as we've already seen, multiple wives means multiple problems. But that's not the story right now. That's not what we're talking about now. We'll get there. Dagon, that's kind of a time skip. David's got kids now. He might have been having kids this whole time. Look, they just didn't talk about it because it didn't enter into the conversation until now. Because pretty much First Samuel at the end, we're talking about David being chased around and David's conflict with Saul. The kids don't really enter into it except for, the wives got captured. We don't know anything about the concubines, if they were traveling with him or whatever. But now it is important. So now we are seeing things come into play. So these were born to David in Hebron. Abner goes over to David. Okay. Abner, we were talking about last, is part of Saul's crew. During the war between the house of Saul and the house of David, Abner had been strengthening his own position in the house of Saul. Now Saul had a concubine named Rizpah, daughter of Aiah, and Ishbosheth said to Abner, "Why did you sleep with my father's concubine?" Awkward moment. Ishbosheth is Saul's possibly last remaining son, but he is the heir apparent to Israel according to the house of Saul. He is the one who is going to be ascending to the throne, or has already ascended to the throne. Abner was very angry because what Ishbosheth had said. So he answered, "Am I a dog's head on Judah's side? This very day I am loyal to the house of your father Saul and to his family and friends. I haven't handed you over to David, yet now you accuse me of an offense involving this woman." We don't know if Abner, it doesn't say anything right yet, um, whether Abner actually had relations with this lady. So, Rizpah. Yet now you accuse me of an offense involving this woman. May God deal with Abner, be it ever so severely, if I do not do for David what the Lord promised him on oath, and transfer the kingdom from the house of Saul, and establish David's throne over Israel and Judah from Dan to Beersheba. Ishbosheth, we'll call him Ish. Ish did not dare say another word to Abner because he was afraid of him. Look, Abner's a killer in his own right. He's a warrior in his own right. He's proven that, right? And he makes he's a very accurate statement here. If I do not do for David what the Lord promised him on oath, transfer the kingdom from the house of Saul and establish David's throne over Israel and Judah from Dan to Beersheba. We know that's what's supposed to happen. I don't know what's holding Abner up on this, though. Then Abner sent messengers on his behalf to say to David, "Whose land is it? Make an agreement with me, and I will help you bring all Israel over to you." Now, this sounds kind of conniving. Just on the surface, just reading this, and this sounds kind of conniving. Not in a way to be disloyal to David or to set him up for failure, but he's being an opportunist, which we're seeing from a lot of these hangers on and coattail grabbers throughout Saul and David hanging around. Right, a lot of these guys are up to no good, not necessarily undermining things, but try to get a piece of the action, so to speak. And that's what he said. "Make an agreement with me, and I will help you bring all Israel over to you." "Good," said David. "I will make an agreement with you. But I demand one thing of you. Do not come into my presence unless you bring Michal, daughter of Saul, when you come to see me." And if you don't remember, Michal was David's original wife, given to him by Saul for being part of his court and doing the things that he has done, and I think actually for defeating Goliath, if I remember correctly. So he's saying, "Look, here's your way in. If you're going to show me your loyalty by bringing me my wife, ex-wife, or whatever she is at this point. Yeah. I will make an agreement with you. I demand one thing of you. Do not come into my presence unless you bring Michal, daughter of Saul, when you come to see me." Then David sent messengers to Ish, son of Saul, demanding, "Give me my wife Michal, whom I betrothed to myself, for the price of 100 Philistine foreskins," which was also because that was part of Saul trying to renege on on setting up for the for killing Goliath. He was trying to get David killed, and David just does what's asked of him. He starts cutting penises off. Or what is it? What do you call it? Scalping penises? So Ish gave orders and had her taken away from her husband Paltiel, son of Laish. Her husband, however, went with her, weeping behind her all the way to Baharim. Then Abner said to him, "Go back home." So he went back. Okay. He left. Abner confirmed with the elders of Israel. Again, maybe he loves this woman. Maybe he's a super simp. Who knows? But the fact of the matter is, she's married. She's really married to David. Saul just gave her away in the meantime. Abner conferred with the elders of Israel and said, "For some time you have wanted to make David your king." So we know where the elders stand on things. For some time you have wanted to make David your king. Now do it. For the Lord promised David, "By my servant David's, I will rescue my people Israel from the hand of the Philistines and from the hand of all their enemies." Abner also spoke to the Benjamites in person. Then he went to Hebron to tell David everything that Israel and the whole tribe of Benjamin wanted to do. When Abner, who had 20 women with him, came to David at Hebron, David prepared a feast for him and his men. Then Abner said to David, "Let me go at once and assemble all Israel for my lord the king, so that they may make a covenant with you, and that you may rule over all that your heart desires." So David sent Abner away, and he went in peace. Okay. So I'm going to put some of Nico's game of David in the house of Saul. Look, Martin's not really all that original. I mean, basically, Game of Thrones is the War of the is inspired by the War of the Roses. But yes, or what do they call it in Wheel of Time? The game or whatever, the political game. It's kind of a much better, a much cleaner way of describing it. OG wifey, 100 foreskins. Yeah, that's disgusting. I mean, but you do what you got to do. Because look, here's the thing. Saul commanded it. David delivered it. David was loyal to the king because the king was anointed, and David was not told to be disloyal to Saul. He was told that he would be the next king, or Israel would be his to command in God's time, right? Nico. So wait, so David got cucked and he got himself uncucked? Does it work like that? Lol. David was banished in a way. He was in what's the word I'm looking for? But basically pushed away, right? He wasn't allowed to come anywhere near the capital, right? He was a wanted man. He was being hunted. And in the meantime, since Saul had basically unpersoned David, he gave his daughter to somebody else, right? There wasn't much David could do about it. Call it a hostage situation. Call it what you will. I don't call it cucking. So. Oh, wait, I'm reading all this and I'm not sharing in a screen like I usually do. Guys, y'all got to tell me when I'm doing this. Ugh. Guys, I'm an amateur. Y'all got to keep me accountable. Here we go. And as you can see, everything's set up to be good, right? The priests have wanted David to be king. They probably couldn't say they were probably too scared to say anything because of what Saul had done before when priests got uppity with him. He killed them in the town that they were in. So, right or wrong about that part, about speaking up, they do support David. And that's what Abner was creating, basically. I'm going to hand all of the support of Israel over to you. All of that over to you. Hello, Alias. Welcome back. Like I said, did you get any deer? Alias, did you get any deer? So this is basically, he's handing Israel over on a silver platter to him and bringing him his woman back. One of his women back. One of. And so David's like, yeah, dude, this is awesome. What could possibly go wrong? Well, chapter 20 or verse 22. Just then David's men and Joab returned from a raid and brought with them a great deal of plunder. But Abner was no longer with David in Hebron because David had sent him away, and he had gone in peace. When Joab and all the soldiers with him arrived, he was told that Abner, son of Ner, had come to the king and that the king had sent him away and that he had gone in peace. So Joab went to the king, David, and said, "What have you done? Look, Abner came to you. Why did you let him go? Now he is gone. You know Abner, son of Ner. He came to deceive you and observe your movements and find out everything you were doing." Joab clearly knows more than David. I don't know. I don't like to me, second guessing David at this point in his life is probably a bad idea. Joab then left David and sent messengers after Abner, and they brought him back from the cistern at Sirah or at Sirah. But David did not know it. Now, when Abner returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside into an inner chamber, as if to speak with him privately. And there, to avenge the blood of his brother Asahel, Joab stabbed him in the stomach. And he died. What a way to go. Screwing things up in new and in cliche ways. Like Nernath said, Joab and his brothers going to be a thorn in David's side, even though they're supposed to be loyal to him. Abner, who's basically this is all going to come about probably somewhat peacefully. Is done because one guy can't listen to his king, can't accept the fact that his brother was being kind of an ass and got killed because of it. And man was defending himself, in essence, or you call it just happened on the battlefield. Can't accept it. Lures the guy in, murders him in cold blood. Later, when David heard about this, he said, "I and my kingdom are forever innocent before the Lord concerning the blood of Abner, son of Ner. May his blood fall on the head of Joab and on his whole family. May Joab's family never be without someone who has a running sore or leprosy, or who leans on a crutch, or who falls by the sword, or who lacks food." Just basically, look, curse you and your whole family forever. And look, a lot of times in the Old Testament, when this happens, family line doesn't last very long. So this isn't going to be something several generations. This is going to be maybe the first and second generation, and then everybody's dead. Ugh. Sorry, guys, I had to sneeze. Joab and his brother Abishai murdered Abner because he had killed their brother Asahel at the battle of Gibeon. All right, so they're calling it a battle, right? Seems. Here we go, Nico. I think it sets the stage for the other issues that come with the human king. First, the king himself is imperfect. Second, his cabinet is going to be imperfect, all right. So here we go, right? Great point, Nico, because what was the whole problem with just having God as your king? Your cabinet, your elders, right, were corrupt. Well, maybe a human king will have something different. Just an extra layer of wrong on there. But you had to have one because everybody else had one. Not the. I'm not going to get into this again. I've had my rants on this. But again, very astute, Nico. It's not just setting the stage, it's also pointing right back to what God had said before. And what the situation was before. We had a corrupt cabinet. Well, let's have a king, and he can have a cabinet. Well, that cabinet's what's going to keep that cabinet from being corrupt? If God is allowing it, do you think the king can hold itself in control? No. No. It's all done, Nico. Then David said to Joab and all the people with him, "Tear your clothes and put on sackcloth and walk in mourning in front of Abner." David himself walked behind the bier. They burned Abner in Hebron, and the king wept aloud at Abner's tomb. All the people wept also. The king sang this lament for Abner. Remember, which is a pretty heavy honorific. Maybe not realizing how great David ends up being in the very vast long run of things, but just understanding a king is singing and he is a very skilled musician. Should Abner had died as the lawless die, your hands were not bound, your feet were not fettered. You fell as one falls before the wicked. Yeah. And all the people wept over him again. Then they all came and urged David to eat something while it was still day. But David took an oath, saying, "May God deal with me, be it ever so severely, if I taste bread or anything else before the sun sets." All the people took note and were pleased. Indeed, everything the king did pleased them. So on that day, all the people there and all Israel knew that the king had no part in the murder of Abner, son of Ner. Because remember, David's liked. He's well liked. The elders like him. The people like him. But again, what is the ripple effect that's going to have to happen as a result of this? And people might not blame David or think that he had no part in it, but they still lose Abner's influence in bringing things over. So how does it end? Then the king said to his men, "Do you not realize that a commander and a great man has fallen in Israel this day? And today, though I am the anointed king, I am weak, and these sons of Zeruiah are too strong for me. May the Lord repay the evildoer according to his evil deeds." And it seems like David's had enough, right? He's had enough. But he's heaping praise on Abner. So maybe Abner's not being as self-serving as possible. Maybe he's cutting a deal because he understands it's the right thing. Again, in some respects, we are not putting things in a position to judge motives if we're not sure what they are. Right? David seems to think that they're great, or that Abner was a righteous man, and we're given no inclination at this point to think that he's wrong. So, alias, my son got his first nice-sized doe. His buddy got a littler one. I got to relax and clean, exhausted from that. Yeah. Have you used the golf ball size style of cleaning? That little where you take the golf ball and you use that as kind of a anchor point, I guess, but you're pulling down with the golf ball. I've done that once before, and it was in fact the last time I cleaned a deer was that way. It's been a long time since I've been deer hunting, but good. Congratulations. Glad. I don't know how old your son is or his buddy, but hunting is an age-old pastime, a pastime that promotes patience, awareness, and focus, right? So rough with pretty much whatever you're cleaning, but deer or whatever you're hunting. But deer in particular, you're up in the tree stand, you're waiting forever. Duck hunting, same thing. You're in the blind, you're waiting. I've known people who've been to some pheasant hunts out in the Midwest and out in the plains, and it's daggone turkey shoot. But in general, the respect for the wild and the taste of venison. So, if you cleaned, I know that there's some Bambi burgers or some deer jerky or something, either on the horizon or recently et. So congratulations on your son. Hopefully it's the first of many more great hunting experiences for him and you and his buddy. So may y'all continue to have those experiences together because I know it's great. So I know people who fish and hunt, and the last hunting I did was coyote hunting. I need to focus on getting some big game hunting. I want to hunt things that can kill me, that have the capacity to kill me, like a real possibility. Not talking about going on safari to Africa. I don't really got no desire for that, but coyote, boar, bear hunting, that kind of stuff, grizzly hunting, some real stuff like that where you have to be on your toes. Be on your toes. All right. Well, that concludes tonight's reading. And we did this all in under an hour, and I feel like we covered a fair amount of stuff. That's great. That's great. And we see some of the crew in here. Dresden, Alias, Nico, and maybe a couple other viewers just kind of lurking. Maybe a John Smoth hiding in the wings. But whether you're John Smoth, Alias, Nico, Neo Rice, Nernaev, Wild Weeb, wherever you are. Dude, I hope all of you had a great Thanksgiving. And if your Thanksgiving was troubled or not great, hopefully there were some things out of that could come out of it that would help you grow, or that you can overcome whatever issues were going on. Hopefully, whatever it was, you didn't spend it alone. You spent it with some family. And hopefully you're in church on Sunday. Again, not trying to get you to join my church. I'm trying to get you to get into a church, a fundamentally sound church of some type, to get you on the path to salvation. If you're not already there, if you're not already a Christian working on things, if you're not already part of a fellowship, of a congregation that is helping you grow in reality. Because look, you guys come in here, we have a great time, discussing these things and reading about the Bible, reading the Bible, and talking about it. But again, I am a layman and I am not an expert, right? I'm reading this stuff and reacting to it. I'm the primer. I'm the beginning. I'm the 101 course, if even that. I might be a pamphlet, whatever you want to call it. The meat is at church. And finding the right place. Maybe it's like finding a good restaurant. Anyway, guys, tomorrow we will be streaming. Wednesday I plan to stream. Like I said, Thursday is up in the air. Friday's a no-go. I've got things going on. Unless that plan falls apart, in which case we will stream, but plan on Friday being a no streaming night, and we'll go from there. So, as for tonight, Nico, Alias, Dresden, and the rest of the guys tuning in, gals tuning in, whomever, thank you for giving me your time. Love you all, and I wish that nothing but the best for you. I wish salvation on anyone and everyone. Hope we all make it. But guys, y'all have a very good night, and God bless.